The essence of the Deuterographer. In recent years, discussions about the discovery of the Ark of the Covenant have flooded the internet. This topic has become widespread and highly controversial. In response, various online experts and scholars have engaged in heated debates, reminiscent of the saying 8 immortals cross the sea, each revealing their magical powers. Unfortunately, these debates have left everyone red-faced and tongue-tied. The Deuterographer in the Bible consists of several texts that bridge the gap between the Old and New Testaments. These texts cover events that occurred in Israel over approximately 400 years, rather than being later discoveries or fabrications. Some sections or expressions within these texts were doubted or denied by Judaism, leading to their exclusion from the canonical scriptures. They were relegated to secondary literature, hence the names Deuterographer, Apocrypha, Pseudo-Scripture, falsified scriptures, and Deuterocanonical books. Although these texts do not hold the same authority as other canonical books, they are essential for understanding the cultural, historical, and contextual aspects between the Old and New Testaments. During the period when Greek became prevalent in the Mediterranean and almost served as an international language, authorities organized a team of 70, some sources say 72 Jewish experts and scholars. They worked in the famous city of Alexandria, located near the Suez Canal, to translate the Hebrew Bible into Greek. This historic translation, known as the Septuagint, also included some content from the Deuterographer. Early Christianity adopted the Greek Septuagint as its authoritative Bible. Later, as Latin gained dominance in the Mediterranean region, the church authorities translated the Septuagint into Standard Latin. The Latin version has been in use ever since and remains a core authoritative text. The Catholic Bible, for instance, includes 7 Deuterocanonical books from this translation. The Eastern Orthodox Bible, similar to the Catholic version, derives its translation from the Greek Septuagint. However, the specific Deuterocanonical books may vary based on the denomination. In contrast, Protestantism emphasizes original sources. Therefore, the blueprint for translating the Protestant Bible is not based on the Greek Septuagint but rather on the earlier, unadulterated Hebrew Bible. Consequently, the Protestant Bible does not include the Deuterocanonical books. Some Protestant editions print these books separately or as appendices after the canonical texts. The rejection of the Deuterocanonical books by some Christian denominations primarily stems from controversies surrounding their authority and historical background. 1. Historical context. The Deuterocanonical texts span a long period, roughly from 300 BCE to 100 CE. During these 400 years, Jewish and Christian communities underwent significant changes, resulting in varying cultural and religious perspectives. As a result, the authority of these texts differs among different denominations. 2. Canonical standards. The formation of the Christian canon was a complex historical process. In the 4th century CE, the Christian Church began determining which books should be considered canonical. These criteria included tradition, consistency, theological content, and authorship. Some Deuterocanonical books did not meet these standards and were excluded from the canon. 3. Regional differences. Acceptance of the Deuterocanonical books varies among different Christian regions. For example, Eastern Orthodoxy includes additional Deuterocanonical books beyond what Catholicism and Protestantism accept. 4. Theological perspectives. Some Deuterocanonical books contain theological viewpoints distinct from the canonical texts, leading to disagreements among denominations. It's essential to recognize that the Bible serves both as scripture and historical record. Rejecting the Deuterocanonical books entirely would leave a 400-year historical gap between the Old and New Testaments, resulting in unanswered questions and missed opportunities for understanding. Like the Xiongnu people in northern China, after they were finally driven out of the Han people's field of vision, they were never heard from again. After 400 years, a fierce tribe suddenly emerged in Europe, known as the Huns. They were both savage and brutal, skilled in warfare, and unstoppable, earning the nickname God's Whip. Their leader, Attila, was a monstrous presence. The mere mention of this malevolent name struck fear into the hearts of the locals. Because the Huns' naming convention resembled that of Eastern ethnic groups, with surnames preceding given names, people initially assumed they were descendants of the Xiongnu from northern China. However, extensive scholarly research later refuted this theory. This dilemma left the Chinese feeling embarrassed, conflicted, and helpless. If the northern Xiongnu lineage had indeed been wiped out, it would be a grave sin against the Han people, leading to their extinction. Returning to the topic of the Apocrypha, even if it faces skepticism from a religious perspective, it remains an essential part of historical records. For Judaism, the worldview and values during the apocryphal era may not align with those of the Old Testament period, as they do not recognize the New Testament. However, this issue does not exist for Christianity. The stark differences between the Old and New Testaments, some even contradictory, allow for a smoother historical transition. Therefore, including the Apocrypha seems advantageous without harm. The term Apocrypha refers to those books that were not accepted into the Jewish canon but are recognized as canonical in the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Bibles. These books have far-reaching influence not only in matters of faith but also in culture, history, and literature. First, from a religious perspective, the Apocrypha plays a crucial role in Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions. Books like Tobit, Wisdom, Sirach Ecclesiasticus, and 1 and 2 Maccabees provide rich theological insights and moral teachings, supplementing the content of the Old Testament canon. These texts were often used to explain and support church doctrines and practices, especially during the medieval and Renaissance periods. Certain passages within the Apocrypha, such as Wisdom 2, are considered to foreshadow the suffering of Jesus Christ, significantly impacting Christian theology. Second, the Apocrypha holds cultural and literary value. These books contain captivating stories, proverbs, and poetry that have profoundly influenced Western literature. For instance, the story of Tobit was widely referenced in medieval art and literature, serving as inspiration for many artistic works. Additionally, some apocryphal books, like Sirach and Wisdom, have left their mark on later literary works and philosophical thought through their wisdom literature. Third, from a historical perspective, the Apocrypha provides valuable information. These books document significant events and figures in Jewish history between the 2nd century BCE and the 1st century CE. For example, 1 and 2 Maccabees detail the history of the Maccabean family's rebellion against the Seleucid dynasty, crucial for understanding Jewish religious and political dynamics during the Hellenistic period. These texts not only enhance our comprehension of the historical context but also serve as valuable sources for studying ancient Near Eastern society, culture, and religion. Furthermore, the Apocrypha sheds light on the relationship between Judaism and Christianity. Some apocryphal books demonstrate how certain Jewish doctrines and practices evolved in the Hellenistic and Romanized environment. These texts help us understand how early Christianity diverged from Judaism and developed its own belief system within different cultural contexts. The varying status of the Apocrypha throughout church history reflects theological and ecclesiastical disagreements among different religious communities. During the Reformation, Protestant leaders excluded the Apocrypha from the canonical Bible due to theological and church political reasons. However, the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions continue to regard it as part of divine revelation. This divergence not only shaped the development of religious beliefs and doctrines but also significantly influenced the diversity of Western religion and culture. In the context of the Chinese Catholic Bible, the St. Paul Edition Bible stands as the authoritative translation approved by the Vatican for Chinese-speaking Catholics. Regarding the whereabouts of the Ark of the Covenant, there is a passage in the second book of Maccabees in the Septuagint, also known as the Deuterocanonical books. Verse 4, the text recounts that when the prophet Jeremiah ascended the mountain where Moses had previously prayed to God for a view of the promised land, God advised Jeremiah to take the tabernacle and the ark with him. According to the context in verse 1, the prophet mentioned here is Jeremiah, also known as Jeremias. In other words, the prophet Jeremiah brought the ark and other sacred items to the same Mount Sinai where Moses had led the Hebrew people during their exodus from Egypt. Based on this clue, the hiding place of the ark was not within Israel, but rather in the distant central mountains of the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. Verse 5, Jeremiah arrived at that location and found a large cave. He placed the tabernacle, the ark, and the incense altar inside the cave and sealed the entrance. Thus, the prophet Jeremiah stored the sacred items in a cave and sealed it. Verse 6, later, some companions who followed the same path tried to return and mark the location, but they couldn't find it again. It seems that the lack of fixed reference points caused them to lose the memory of the scene. Verse 7, when Jeremiah learned about this, he rebuked them, saying that no one should know the location until God shows mercy and gathers the people together. Jeremiah became angry when he heard that some of his companions were attempting to find the cave's location again. He declared that this treasure's whereabouts should remain unknown until God's mercy allows it to be revealed. Verse 8. Only then would God indicate where these sacred items were. At that time, the glory and cloud would reappear, similar to the times of Moses and Solomon when the temple was consecrated through prayer. God would naturally guide people to find this place. Verse 9. The passage also records how this wise person dedicated the newly constructed temple during its consecration and inauguration. Although this sentence is somewhat disjointed and unclear, a reasonable interpretation is that when the new temple was completed and consecrated, the ark would once again appear among the people and reside in the new temple. In summary, the prophet Jeremiah hid the sacred items to protect them from foreign invasion, prophesying that they would return to humanity and find a place in the new temple upon its completion. This passage, known as the Deuterocanonical text, supplements the canonical Bible and sheds light on the mystery of the ark's whereabouts. Without this passage, the Bible would have an abrupt gap, lacking coherence. Therefore, this text is an essential piece of the complete biblical puzzle. Regarding the claim that the ark was found in Jerusalem, it contradicts this Deuterocanonical text. Furthermore, there is no evidence from witnesses, physical artifacts, or endorsement from major Christian denominations. It remains a personal account without substantial verification. In today's world,
there are more genuine charlatans than ants. False messiahs outnumber deceivers.
With so many heretical movements and cults, it's essential to think critically rather than blindly believe. The ultimate safeguard against such errors is to be part of a larger church community. Just as in the historical context of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, where internal matters were decided by consulting Zhangzhou and external matters by consulting Zhou Yu, we can apply a similar principle.
For internal matters, consult the Bible. For external matters, seek guidance from the church.
Having a complete Bible and a strong church community provides both wisdom and protection. False messiahs are no match for such preparedness. Interestingly, active Christian voices online predominantly come from Protestant backgrounds, with very few representing Catholicism. Their choice of language and expressions often reveals their theological leanings. Similarly, there is minimal representation of Eastern Orthodox Christians in the Chinese community due to the scarcity of Orthodox churches. Some Orthodox believers even rely on the Catholic Bible in Chinese. Over time, these believers may eventually turn to Catholicism. Throughout Christian history, the phenomenon of small sects converting to larger denominations is not uncommon. Various factors, including theology, society, culture, and politics, contribute to these shifts. Remember, discernment is crucial in an era where misinformation abounds. Unity in theology and doctrine. 1. Consistency and orthodoxy of doctrine. Many small denominations, during their development, may find themselves facing deviations or inadequacies in their doctrinal interpretations and faith practices. Joining a larger denomination allows access to a well-established theological system and abundant theological resources, resulting in more consistent and orthodox explanations of doctrine. This not only helps believers better understand and practice their faith but also strengthens their confidence in it. 2. Addressing internal theological disputes. Small denominations often experience internal disagreements and debates due to their smaller size. These disputes can lead to division within the denomination and loss of followers. By joining a larger denomination, believers can adopt an existing mature theological framework and doctrinal system, resolving internal theological controversies and avoiding unnecessary splits. It's worth noting that some small denominations, in their struggle for survival, may resort to attacking larger denominations. Ironically, such behavior can create a perception of pettiness and may inadvertently contribute to congregational attrition. Integration of society and culture. 1. Social acceptance and recognition. Larger denominations typically enjoy higher social acceptance and influence in many societies. Followers from smaller denominations who join larger ones often experience better social acceptance and respect, reducing the social pressure and discrimination associated with differing beliefs. 2. Cultural adaptability. Larger denominations tend to be more adaptable and inclusive in cultural contexts, effectively spreading their message and practices across diverse cultural backgrounds. By joining a larger denomination, followers from smaller ones can better integrate into mainstream culture and enjoy a richer religious and cultural life. Political and economic factors. 1. Political protection and support. In certain countries and regions, larger denominations may receive government protection and support, while smaller denominations face more restrictions and suppression. Joining a larger denomination can provide greater religious freedom and political refuge, preventing persecution based on faith. 2. Resources and networks. Larger denominations typically have more resources, including economic, educational, and communication resources. Followers from smaller denominations who join larger ones can benefit from these resources, receiving better religious education and faith support, thus enhancing the denomination's sustainability. Impact of globalization and information technology. 1. Global religious exchange. Globalization facilitates communication and interaction among different religions and denominations. Through cross-national religious exchanges, believers have the opportunity to access more resources and information from larger denominations, which can attract them to the theological content and practices of these larger groups. 2. Advantages of information dissemination. In the digital age, larger denominations leverage modern communication tools such as the internet and social media to expand their influence and reach. When followers from smaller denominations encounter this information, they may be drawn to the faith content and social activities of larger denominations, leading them to choose to join. Trends and analysis. 1. Gradual increase in the trend. With the development of globalization and information technology, the trend of followers from smaller denominations joining larger ones is gradually increasing. This is especially evident in countries where multiple religions coexist and religious freedom prevails. 2. Ecological diversity. While the phenomenon of followers switching to larger denominations is on the rise, the existence of smaller denominations still holds unique value and significance. Ecological diversity in religion helps maintain the richness and diversity of faith, promoting dialogue and understanding among different belief systems. In summary, the phenomenon of followers from smaller denominations joining larger ones is driven by various factors, including theological unity, social and cultural integration, political and economic considerations, and the impact of globalization and information technology. Despite this growing trend, maintaining religious diversity remains crucial for preserving the multifaceted nature of faith. Regarding the discussion on followers' choices, it's essential to recognize that media behavior in the internet age plays a significant role. 1. Smaller denominations often seek visibility by aggressively promoting themselves online. 2. Frequent exposure can lead to verbal slips, and mistakes may go unnoticed. 3. Some channels exhibit extreme aggression, criticizing everything and everyone, including their own churches. 4. The mix of genuine and deceptive content confuses followers and stirs controversy. 5. Negative online behavior can disappoint and alienate congregations, leading to attrition. 6. In contrast, mainstream denominations maintain a dignified silence, avoiding verbal slips and minimizing opportunities for deception. 7. If smaller denominations don't temper their excessive self-promotion, congregational attrition is inevitable. 8. Properly valuing secondary scriptures is a clear marker of authentic Christian faith. In the end, the denominational contest has already yielded results.
Smaller denominations aggressively spread their message, expanding their influence. Larger denominations rest comfortably, reaping the benefits while maintaining their position.